When Margie Gillis dances, choreographs, or teaches modern dance, she does it by finding that place deep inside her that connects her intellect with her immense physical talent. She has won over audiences with her masterful interpretations and solo performances. She is in Vancouver with a production called Thread. And it is my pleasure to welcome Margie Gillis to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Hi.
Nice to meet you, and congratulations are in order. Not only do you have the Order of Canada and the Quebec pin, but you were nominated, or you're going to receive, I should say, Lifetime Achievement Governor General Award?
Yes.
Along with William Shatner? Have you met him?
Yes, and Yvon Deschamps, and it's wonderful, very, very exciting. It's, of course, the highest honor our country can give for the performing arts. So, yeah, it's exciting. I haven't met William Shatner yet. No.
You will.
I'm sure I will meet.
I'm sure you will.
Yeah.
Then you'll have stories to tell.
Yeah.
I promise you. Back to your beginnings. Obviously from an athletic family or a fairly talented family. Tell me about your early days in gymnastics.
Well, my mother and my father and my mother's twin sister were all Olympic skiers. My mom and her twin sister were for Canada and my father for the States. My little brother, of course, played with the Canucks when he was some 30 years ago, Jerry. And I have a cousin who's world freestyle champion. I have a nephew who's now doing all the new skiing where you're on the poles and the wires and the different things like that. So the family's physically risk-taking. Physical risk-taking was encouraged in our family,
I guess so, and coordinated.
Yeah.
Any dancers? I mean, like ballet dancers or modern dancers.
My brother Chris was lead dancer with the Paul Taylor Company in New York for 18 years and died of AIDS 18 years ago now. Yeah.
And you danced with him?
I danced with Chris, and I've now been doing solo work for almost 40 years, which is, to do it for 5 years is like, oh yeah, that's a solo career. You can't last beyond 5 years, and then 10 years, you know, surely she'll last just 1 year longer. But I love the human experience, and I love dancing it. I love the storytelling. I love embracing and engaging in movement and motion, and I find it tempers the intellect, and we're using it now to model conflict resolution too, which is really thrilling for me. So I've got all these other projects that are going on with the dance and how we can change the neuromuscular responses and come to creative thought, and it's all very exciting.
It is exciting, but it's so powerful. It's present, it's powerful, and you said once that you choreograph and you dance from a place deep inside.
Yes.
So that you can make more visible the imagery that lives in your body.
Yes.
When did you know you had that in your body and it had to get out?
I've always
danced. For sure.
I've always danced. I started class when I was 3 years old because the family lore was that I was dancing as I was born, and I always have seen the world in motion. And I love the experience of who we are, our thought, our emotion, the whole sort of internal landscape becomes electricity, runs down the neuromuscular system, and turns into muscle response, nature.
So there's a link, a definite link, I think, between physical expression, your physical expression, and your intellect.
Yes, absolutely.
Why do you think some people simply can't dance, are afraid to dance,
I think
don't like to dance, are shy about dancing?
Yes, there's a lot of cultures that really support and engage in physical movement a lot more than we do, and it's out in all the medical journals that it helps you think better, it helps you function better. There's endomorphs in moving. It helps depression. It's the lymph glands, everything. It's really, well, we are nature, we are life. We are wild and wilderness, and to explore that and play with that and engage with it. And I think mainly the basic element is curiosity. You get curious about something and then you start playing with it and engaging with it, and and we don't play enough as well.
Right, I totally agree. We played when we were 10. If you could do a cartwheel, which I'm sure you could. Yeah. You did cartwheels. There aren't too many 50-year-olds doing cartwheels around the streets these days.
Yeah, but there is a way to explore dance and do what you can do. explore and engage in movement. Even if it's under the skin, we are dancing. We are moving. There is a musculature release and contraction that's going on. We have internal dance. We need to just allow it to externalize it.
When you're forming a dance in your head and you're thinking of choreographing something for National Ballet or Cirque du Soleil or yourself, how is the process different?
Well, the vision is always the vision. It comes to you, you see it, and then you engage in the curiosity or engage in the dialogue with the idea. But if you're working with other people, for me, I like very, very much to take the artist that I'm working with and see where they want to go. So I did a piece on a beautiful dancer here, Margie Gillis with the Ballet BC, and I've done mentoring work, and of course Emily Molnar is doing just genius work. Genius, you lucky, wonderful city. Yes, you lucky, wonderful city. You've got Ballet BC.
Ballet.
You've got amazing work going on. Yeah. An excellent weekend this weekend for dance as well. There's Wenwei is performing, the International Dance Festival is on. I'm in town. It's phenomenal what's going on here in Vancouver. Very exciting.
I'm sure.
Very exciting.
Where are you all having dinner? That sounds like fun.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell me about Thread.
Well, Thread, I realized that I was working on, I work on a number of pieces at the same time, and I realized they were all about weaving or lines, heartstrings, pathways, communication, lines that disappear, who we are in life, being at the shoreline, all of these different images that had to do with thread or line or shape. And so I started to weave them all together, and I wasn't really sure, more so than any other work, I've not exactly known what this one was about. It is a process, it is a journey, it is on the ride. So there are also two other characters in the storyline. There's a man who represents the beloved, which can be, a brother, a sister, a child, a lover, a husband, or the spiritual sense of the beloved, that which we look for, the deepness of our soul. And then there's an older woman who is 74, and Eleanor is
excellent.
She is a dancer who is also a tenured professor of teaching at Harvard.
Really?
And she is drawing the character that I portrayed further in life and through death and moving in a gracious way, understanding that this is all part of the continuum. And so she's a beautiful character.
So when you think of the threads, what are those threads made of?
The ones that are hanging down in the
Yes.
box, all the different threads, there's different threads. Some are elastic, some are invisible, there's a thread box with lots of cord hanging down that we run through and play with and engage in. There's a woven thread, there's a huge, heavy fabric that I use at the end, where sort of in my mind, I'm gripping the shoreline and just pulling the shoreline up and out. So it's fun.
Yeah. Well, one of the critics, perhaps it wasn't a critic, it may have been yourself in your artist statement, said that if you think of thread or rope, it's the rope that trips us up in life. It's the twine that tethers us.
Yes.
The cords we cut. There's so much meaning in this, really. The ribbons that glorify us.
Yes.
Or the ribbons that save us. I was thinking, if you, when men come home, or men and women now come home from war, tie a yellow ribbon.
Yes.
Or the ribbon around the tree to save the tree. Please don't cut this tree down.
And we used to, in Ireland, they used to tie ribbon on a tree, and when there was suffering of any kind or injury or illness, and supposedly as the fabric disintegrated, so the illness went as well.
How great.
Yeah, isn't
and
it
the
lovely?
elementals helped, and the leprechauns, and all of that, so with all those little figures to help us. Tell me when you went to China, because I know you introduced modern dance to Maoist China, post-cultural revolution.
Yes, it was just after the Cultural Revolution, and it was in '79, and it was very exciting for me. It was like being part of a fairy tale, and they had just let many of the Tibetan monks out of prison, and they were in my audience. So I was a kind of a it was a really extraordinary time for me, and I fell absolutely in love with the people I met. The emotion and the way of speaking, the poetry. of the Chinese spirit was so compelling to me. I was very deeply moved.
And I know you've worked all over the world.
Yeah.
So whether you're in Egypt or India or China, is there a place where you think, aside from Montreal, this is my place?
Yes.
This is where I should be, even though I don't live here.
Yeah, yeah. I felt that in a number of places. I felt that in New Zealand. I felt it in China. I felt it in Spain. I felt it in Scotland. Yeah, there's been a number of places. I was just in Switzerland. I thought that would be nice, but it didn't feel like my soul place, but it was beautiful. Yeah,
it is beautiful.
Delicious.
In Schwyz.
Up in the mountains.
In the mountains, but and the trains run on time.
Yes, they do
Yes,
indeed.
all of that, we know that, but the romance, well, there is romance, but it doesn't seem quite the same. It's a little too tidy. Switzerland, do you think?
Perhaps, but they still manage to have children.
They sure do. They sure do.
They still manage to have an incredible amount of romance.
I know, you did a film. Was it called Romance and Cigarettes?
Yes, yeah. I did some choreography for John Turturro's film. Yeah.
Wow. What a great title.
Yes. Yes, it was. It was very, very sexy and sensual and
so on
playful.
And you've worked with Jesse Norman, I know. I would love to have seen that. So tell me about that. Was it dedicated to Duke Ellington? Was it? What was that about?
Yes, it was a Sacred Ellington, and Jessie Norman is really, she really is the goddess. I mean, the vibration from the sound of her voice is so incredibly healing. She's a dear friend, and she's just a remarkable human spirit. And I know that people say sometimes that she's a diva. I've never ever seen her do anything that was not of service to either her audience, her voice, her art, or to humanity.
You know, she mentored young opera stars, and I think she still does through that Rolex program or something. And I met one of the sopranos she worked with, who said exactly the same thing. Like, she is Jessie Norman.
Yes.
That's a given.
Yes.
But she wasn't a diva, and she does give back.
Generous, and supremely talented, extraordinary. Yeah, I've been lucky enough to work with some wonderful, wonderful singers, wonderful opera singers. Suzy Leblanc from Quebec, also Daniel Taylor. Yeah, I've been very lucky.
Any desire to go to Vegas?
Well, I did. I worked. I was. Cirque du Soleil did the Beatles' Love, and Guylaine Liberté was trying to get, telling the dancers, please, we just want this piece to look like Margie Gillis. And a friend of mine who works for Guy said, well, why don't you call Margie? So, so I went in and I choreographed the two solos for the dancers.
In Love.
In Love. So While My Guitar Gently Weeps, and Something in the Way She Moves. And of course the choreography was done by the phenomenal Dave St. Pierre. So I was already enamored with the choreography that was in place. So it was really just to follow in line of this. And I mean, the 60s were what I lived, and where I was allowed to be this wild, crazy spirit and do who I was. And
I had the stage manager on.
authenticity.
He stage managed Love, and he said he met the Beatles. What was left of the Beatles?
Yeah,
they came and were
exciting.
You know, fooling about.
Oh, and the music's so beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Something in the way we move. Something in the way you move.
Something.
I don't know about the we part, but certainly something in the way you move.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. So Margie Gillis, Thread, that'll be this Friday, this Saturday at the Fan Milton Wong Experimental Theater. How fabulous.
Very excited to be back.
Can't wait to see it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Margie Gillis, the phenom, Margie Gillis.